For some artists, their debut album not only launched their career, but is also still their biggest achievement. In this video, we'll look at 8 artists whose debut album is their biggest. Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish burst onto the music scene with her debut studio album When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go in 2019, which quickly became a defining moment in pop music. Featuring hits like Bad Guy and When the Party's Over, the album was a massive commercial success, debuting at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and selling over 5 million copies globally within the first year. It is now one of the most streamed albums of all time, accumulating more than 11.8 billion total streams on Spotify. Billie started a new era of pop music with the album, as it appealed to a new generation of listeners who connected with her emotionally raw and dark aesthetic. The album also earned her 5 Grammy Awards in 2020, including Album of the Year, making her the youngest artist ever to win in that category. Its success was amplified by a world tour and critical acclaim that branded Billie as the future of pop music. Although her sophomore album Happier Than Ever in 2021 saw similar acclaim, it didn't replicate the cultural and commercial dominance of her debut. Her latest album, Hit Me Hard and Soft, continued the momentum and is one of her best, but her debut is still her biggest, as it cemented Billie as one of the most influential artists of her generation. Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey's cinematic debut album Born to Die introduced the world to her melancholic brand of pop back in 2012. The album, which features iconic tracks like Video Games, Blue Jeans, and Summertime Sadness, has now sold over 21 million units worldwide and has solidified her status as a cultural icon. It is now considered a modern classic, and by far her biggest album. Critics were initially divided on it, but the audience spoke louder, turning Born to Die into a commercial phenomenon. The album was a slow burn, consistently selling well over the years, and eventually becoming one of the most streamed albums of all time on Spotify, with more than 8.6 billion total streams, which is incredible because it was released before the streaming era. Her next albums, Ultraviolence in 2014 and Normal Fucking Rockwell in 2019, were critically acclaimed, but didn't eclipse the commercial success of her debut. She consistently sells well though, even more than a decade into her career. Lana Del Rey has since embraced her niche as kind of an underground superstar, but Born to Die remains her magnum opus. Olivia Rodrigo. Olivia Rodrigo made history with her debut album Sour in 2021, which became a global sensation almost overnight, fueled by the success of its lead single Driver's License, which spent 8 weeks on #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Sour debuted at the top of the Billboard 200 and has now sold over 19 million units worldwide. Songs like Good For You and Deja Vu showcased Olivia's ability to channel her heartbreak and angst into relatable pop anthems, making her the voice of Gen Z. Her approach to songwriting, inspired by artists like Taylor Swift, earned her critical acclaim for her vulnerability and emotional depth. Sour won 3 Grammy Awards, including 1 for Best New Artist, cementing her place in music history. Its success was further amplified by its wide-ranging influence, blending pop, punk, and alternative styles into one cohesive project. Although her sophomore album Guts in 2023 also did really well, it didn't reach the towering heights of Sour in terms of cultural influence or commercial performance. For now, Sour remains the defining project of her career, but she is still at the beginning, so who knows what's going to happen in the future. Britney Spears. Britney Spears exploded onto the pop scene in 1999 with her debut album Baby One More Time, propelled by the iconic title track and its unforgettable schoolgirl-themed video. The album quickly became a global phenomenon. It has sold over 33 million units worldwide, including 14 million in the US, where it has been certified diamond by the RIAA. It is now one of the best-selling debut albums of all time. Britney established herself as a princess of pop, and the album started off her long career. The huge success of her debut album overshadowed the impressive achievements of her next releases. Her follow-up, Oops, I Did It Again, is not that far behind, selling 25 million units worldwide, and In the Zone in 2003 also did really well, but they never surpassed the cultural and commercial impact of her debut. In the decades since, Britney has maintained a devoted fan base, and Baby One More Time stands as the moment that solidified her legacy as one of the most influential pop stars of all time. Lorde. Lorde became a global sensation with her debut album Pure Heroine in 2013. The minimalist production and sharp lyricism on tracks like Royals and Team set her apart in the pop landscape, dominated by overproduced hits. Royals reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making her the youngest artist to top the charts in over 26 years, at just 16 years old. The album has now sold over 11 million copies worldwide and earned her 2 Grammy Awards, including Song of the Year for Royals. Despite the critical acclaim of her sophomore album Melodrama in 2017, it couldn't replicate the commercial success of Pure Heroine. While Melodrama debuted on #1 on the Billboard 200 and received a Grammy nomination, it has sold over 3.3 million units globally. Lorde's third album, Solar Power, in 2021 marked a sharp departure from her earlier sound, but faced mixed reviews and lower sales. Lorde's career has since evolved into that of a critical darling, prioritizing artistic exploration over chart dominance. However, the massive cultural impact of Pure Heroine, an album that redefined pop music for a generation, remains her most significant commercial achievement, setting an almost impossible high bar for her next work. Spice Girls. The Spice Girls' debut album Spice is one of the most successful debut albums of all time. The album, featuring iconic tracks like Wannabe and Say You'll Be There, became a cultural phenomenon, solidifying the group as the face of the 1990s pop explosion. Their girl power mantra and vibrant personalities made them global icons, breaking barriers for female pop groups. Spice dominated charts across the world, including a #1 debut in the UK and a peak at #1 on the Billboard 200. It earned the group numerous awards and set the stage for their successful sophomore effort, Spice World, in 1997. However, despite Spice World's great achievements, their debut album is still their biggest, selling 31 million units worldwide, as opposed to their sophomore 17 million units. While the Spice Girls went on a hiatus and pursued solo careers, Spice remains their defining work. The album continues to be celebrated for its role in shaping the global pop landscape. It really defined an era. Meghan Trainor. Meghan Trainor burst into the spotlight with Tidal in 2015, her retro-inspired debut album. Its lead single, All About That Bass, became a global phenomenon, topping charts in over 58 countries and earning diamond certification in the US. It debuted on #1 on the Billboard 200 and has now sold over 11 million units worldwide, spawning additional hits like Lips Are Moving and Like I'm Gonna Lose You. Though she attempted to replicate her debut success with her next albums, like Thank You in 2016 and Trick Myself in 2020, neither achieved the same level of impact. Songs like No and Me Too performed well on the charts, but failed to reach the heights of her debut hits. Meghan is still releasing new music, even though she struggles to sell albums. She is maintaining her career. Her debut album remains her crowning achievement, and by far her biggest project. Avril Lavigne. Avril Lavigne's debut album Let Go introduced the world to a rebellious skateboarding teenager who helped define the early 2000s pop-punk aesthetic. Released in 2002, the album sold over 21 million units worldwide, with hits like Complicated and Skater Boy becoming anthems for a generation. Let Go debuted on #2 on the Billboard 200 and was certified 7 times platinum in the US. She followed the album with the successful Under My Skin in 2004 and The Best Damn Thing in 2007, which produced hits like Girlfriend and My Happy Ending. However, neither album matched the raw energy and cultural impact of her debut. By the 2010s, her releases became less frequent, and albums like Goodbye Lullaby in 2011 and Head Above Water in 2019 struggled to capture the mainstream audience she had in her early years. While Avril's influence on the pop-punk revival is undeniable, her debut album remains the biggest achievement in her discography. Let Go not only launched her career, but it also shaped the sound and style of a generation. Which artist whose debut album is their biggest did I miss? Tell me in the comments below.